Hello, it's Brandy from brandyellen.com. The book I'm reading currently is The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire by Deepak Chopra. I hope I'm saying the name correctly. I got this in a free pile. My youngest son and I, we were driving along and we saw this huge set of free pile of things, and I was like, yeah, we don't need any more things. And I drove by and I was like, you know what, I really want to go look. And this book happened to be one of the few things that were there, and I saw it last minute, and I said, I think I know this author's name, it sounds familiar. So I grabbed it, and I have been reading it off and on for a while. I paused reading it because I really wanted to soak in what I was reading. It's kind of like Eckhart Tolle's book. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. You really have to soak them in. So it's not something I can typically read at boxing, which is where I was reading. Now I've been reading during my son's driver's ed. So I get a couple hours of literal silence and just birds chirping and dragonflies flying around while my son's in driver's ed. And I have been really soaking up those books in those 2 hours. I've already read like 2 books, maybe 3. And so then I decided I'm going to open this book back up, and it's talking about coincidences and synchronicities. And I forgot how obsessed with these things I am. I remember when I was younger, I've told this story on my YouTube channel and on my blog, brandyellen.com, many times before. I'm sure you're tired of hearing it, but for those that are new, one of the points, 2 points in my life that I've talked about at various times over the 16 plus years of being a writer and a blogger, when it comes to coincidences or synchronicities, or how, like, when I put my mind to something, it happens. The first one was when I was a teenager, probably somewhere between like 14 and 16 years of age. I was working at Mount Sunapee in New Hampshire, and it was winter time, and I was in the food court. And in the summer, I would work at the beach in the food area. So this was the winter, and I was working in the food area, and there were skiers and snowboarders coming in. And I remember seeing this guy. I don't know, he was a few years older than me, probably. I had never seen him before, and I said, ooh, that guy's gonna be my boyfriend. I don't know as I said it out loud, but I thought it in my head. And eventually, years later, whatever, we connected at a party, and we dated briefly. But it was interesting just to see that I knew, like, oh, I was interested in that person, and later on, mutual friends, we connected, actually. And it was fun. There's more to that story, but that's all you need to know, is that kind of happened. Then, years later, I was sitting at one of my rental houses, one of the houses I was renting, and I think it was with a boyfriend at the time, the guy I was dating. And I remember wanting pineapple pizza. I had ordered, I think it was, I ordered Domino's or something. I ordered some pizza delivery, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I can't remember the story. This is where I tell you guys, memory sucks. It fails you sometimes. You remember it a certain way, but it was a different way. All I remember is that I couldn't stop thinking about a Hawaiian pizza. I love Hawaiian pizza. I know. Some of you will not like that, but Hawaiian pizza is ham and pineapple, and it is delicious, but I can only have it when I'm craving it a certain way. One of my mom's old boyfriends used to actually make it for me at Athens Pizza in Bellows Falls, Vermont. I think he worked there, but he was like always there, and I would go and make the boxes, and he would make that pizza for me. It was so delicious. But anyway, I couldn't stop thinking about this on this particular night. I'm an adult, fast forward, adult, I've got kids, blah, blah, blah. And I had ordered pizza, and then after I ordered it, I was like, I really want that. I wish I had ordered it, but I didn't. So then the delivery driver gets there, and he's like, you guys, hey, by the way, do you want this extra Hawaiian pizza? Somebody didn't want it, or it was ordered wrong or something. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I ended up with my Hawaiian pizza. And it was funny because my mind was so on it. It was like I manifested that in that short time. Now, manifestation does not happen that quickly, and that is why a lot of people get frustrated with me when I talk about it. They're like, I tried to think positive, and I tried to think of the things I want, and it just didn't happen, Brandy, so I'm going back to my negativity and my normal, and I'm like, okay. But it's a lifestyle change, and it takes time. If you're not naturally wired this way, like I'm naturally wired to be optimistic, to go that way. That doesn't mean I'm always optimistic, and that doesn't mean I always handle things properly. I am a human being. I am imperfect. I make weird choices. I get emotionally invested in stuff, okay? Let me clear that right out. I am so far from handling everything right or perfect. So, but I do lean that way. I lean optimistic. I lean emotional. I'm a woman. I'm emotionally wired. I have big feelings. And as time goes on, and now I'm in my 40s, I've had enough experiences where I can pause a little bit and rein in the emotions and not have a total outburst, which is fantastic for people around me, right? Too bad I couldn't master it earlier on. I think we're meant to master it after we have certain experiences and grow up and get a little wiser. But my point on this book, anyway, One of the simplest explanations of synchronicities is the Big Bang Theory. Now, whether you believe in it or not, whatever, doesn't matter. That's irrelevant to this. But if you think about the theory of the Big Bang, all of these different particles and matter and antimatter, that might be the wrong words, but there was just enough particles and just enough hydrogen and just enough this and just enough that to make the universe and make us as we are, right? The stars in the sky and all those things. So it was, for those who believe in God, I believe in God. If you think about it, everything's just so perfectly. There was just the right number of things to eventually create human beings. Enough particles, enough this to create the planets and the universe as it is today. A little bit too much or a little bit too not enough, and we would have had some sort of black hole. Or if it happened too fast and it didn't happen slow enough at the right speed, we would have had not enough time for the planets and universe and all that and us to create the way they have. And it's very interesting if you think about that. And this reminds me of the different coincidences that I've looked back upon in my life in this last 5 years. It was like in 2019, I knew I had high blood pressure to the point of stroke. I think it was 180 over 120, 180 over 110. I don't even know. It was out of control. I ended up in the ER. All the tests pointed to stress. There was nothing like, nothing wrong on the test for me. And after talking a brief conversation with the people there, they're like, oh, it's stress. So I obviously made a promise never to let my life get that way again. But in 2019, I had that happen. I was in the ER and I was like, I can't live like this anymore. I can't live where I'm living. I'm going to have to be homeless. I'm going to live in a tent. They thought I was crazy. We did live in tents. But at the same time, my ex-husband, the father of my 2 sons, my younger 2 kids, they're almost adults. It's crazy. Anyway, he was about to be homeless in the house he owned too. He was facing, I don't know what he was facing. Anyway, he was about to be homeless. We both were about to be homeless at the same time. It was so interesting. So we ended up spending the summer camping in hotels. We spent the weekends at different new places, and so the boys could join new things. My older daughter had to stay with her dad because she couldn't stay in camping situations and stuff. So that really sucked. That was actually probably the most sad negative part of that whole situation. But it was interesting, the synchronicities that happened to get us, my ex-husband and I, back into a same situation where we both could support each other and be there for the kids. And now we're still continuing to be there for the kids. So it's just very interesting how everything works. So I could probably go on with a bunch of synchronicities and coincidences and such that happened in my life that either led me toward a better path or led me towards a negative path. But you know what? I want to know, what are some synchronicities you've seen in your life that have led to like, oh my gosh, like that aha moment of, I see why that happened. I have tons of them. And I know some of them were in relationships too. It was interesting thinking back. But what is one synchronicity or coincidence that you've seen in your life that this happened, this happened, this happened, and all of a sudden now you see why those things happened in that order, even though in the moment they seem very stressful and overwhelming, or you were questioning things and you're like, oh my gosh, am I really going to make it through? I would love for us to start sharing those stories to inspire others to realize that times are tough, but there's these little moments where you can see the light and the thing that's going to lead you to somewhere better, somewhere magical, and something that in a place that you never could imagine. Okay? Let's spread some magic and light below. Let me know a synchronicity that happened in your life that you want to share with us today. I'd love to chat with you and hear more about your experiences in all sections of life. Have a beautiful day. I am going to go read my book now.